Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a little update on my speed stick training. It's been over a month now, and I wanted to give you a little update on how things have been going. So let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, in case you hadn't seen the first video, I made some DIY speed sticks. I've got a video on my channel, which I'll link in the description, that can show you how to build them yourself and the kind of protocols that I'm going through. Let's talk a little bit about the workouts. They're very straightforward. I've just been doing the same basic introductory workout that I did last time. You've got the 3 different levels of weights. You do 3 swings right-handed, 3 swings left-handed, then you move up to the next weight. Then after going through that, then you do the step-through swings, both left and right, up through all 3 weights. Then you go back to the lightest weight and you do the normal swings again. I think the workouts are pretty straightforward to do. One thing that I've noticed is I get the most out of it after I have already warmed up. So I typically do them after exercising or after doing a range session, or I do some hitting sessions on the net in my backyard. So after I do that and I'm already warm, that's when I do the speed stick training. And I think that's important. You want to not look at these as the warm-up, but you want to look at these as the goal, the training that you want to do in order to get better. So maybe I will start incorporating to do this before I go play a round of golf, but so far that's how I've been doing it, and I've been focusing on trying to increase and develop my speed through this training as if I'm kind of doing a workout like you would do if you're a runner or a weightlifter or anything like that, and I think that that's worked best for me. The next thing I would note is it really is critical to have a device to measure your speed. So I've got my Atlas launch monitor. That thing has been critical to tell me exactly where I'm at, and actually it's helped because I can use that as a target. I keep it on every swing, and I can see where I started with my first swing, and I actually try to beat it. So I'm giving myself kind of an external feedback of how I'm swinging faster. And this has also been interesting because it opens up some different ways. Different types of motions are proving to be more effective at increasing my speed. So it gives me a very direct and immediate feedback, because it's not so much about swinging harder as it is about swinging faster and increasing your neural pathways. And so this has been really helpful to give me clear feedback on what's working versus what's not working and what to keep doing. The left-handed swings definitely are a little awkward, but they've gotten a lot better, and actually my speed has gotten a lot better. And I think overall that's a really useful tool, and something that actually, learning to swing cross-handed or your opposite hand is really, I think, beneficial as a whole, just to help train both sides of your body and even to give you some awareness of your swing. And so that's kind of an unexpected thing that I wasn't really thinking about that has actually been really good and I think is good to practice. Then in terms of scheduling, I've been sticking to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday training schedule. I think there maybe is a thought of I'm just going to go super hard and do this every day for a week, but I have noticed that it does maybe take some time to let your brain acclimate. I did see results after about a week or 2, week and a half. But I don't think I was seeing those same results after the first session. I needed a couple of sessions to let the learning sink in with my brain. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the numbers. I do have a recorded swing on video where I was testing the Atlas launch monitor. I think my club head speed was about 93, 94 miles per hour, about 233, 235-ish carry for maybe a 250 total. So that was kind of the baseline that I used. That's not the hardest or best swing I've ever made. It was maybe 7 o'clock in the morning, the first swing of the day type deal, but I think that's an accurate kind of median baseline of where I was at. So now, after a week and a half of training, I was able to get my maximum up from about 93, 94 to 117. So I experienced a pretty big gain in club head speed. My carry number went up from about 233 to 271, so about 38 yards of increase in carry, going maybe 280 or 290 total. So those results that I was seeing were really big, and I actually have the swing where I hit the 271 carry recorded. So I would say that I started seeing results very quickly, and the results were really big. 52.3, 271. So then, shortly after doing that, I also went out and played golf, and I took my launch monitor with me to track and see how this is actually translating to the golf course. My first round out, I would say that I was definitely still experiencing some increase, but it wasn't to that same level. So if 271 is my 100% maximum, my on course was probably about 80 or 90% of that. So I was getting about 107 to 110 in club head speed, and my distance was going about 255 to 260 carry. So I was still seeing an increase, which was really exciting for me. All right, guys, a little on-course update with my speed stick training. We're here on hole 18 at Landsmere. I just hit this drive, 48.9 meters per second, which I'll convert to miles per hour. Club head speed, 70.6 meters per second. Ball speed, 259 carry. Just hitting this TaylorMade sim. It is currently like 50 degrees and it's pretty wet and rainy, and I'm wearing 3 layers. And I just hit it to here. I read 187 to the pin. This hole is 460 yards. So yeah, I guess I was getting 271 was my very maximum hit with the speed sticks, and I've gotten about 255 to 260 fairly consistently so far today. This is my first round out of golf playing since I started the speed stick training, and I'm seeing it translate. I'm not getting 100%, the 271 100%, but I am getting, 255 is quite good for me. So I'm pretty pleased, pretty happy. I also would say the dispersion, the left and right, I'm in the fairway here. And I had one hole where I hit a bad drive, felt pretty out of sync, but the rest actually have been just fine. Maybe the only other thing I would notice is typically I tend to play a little bit of a draw, and I've been hitting it straight to maybe a little bit of a cut with the, I guess I'm going to say, the quote-unquote new swing. So overall, pretty excited. I would say the results are translating so far. And second, I would say I wasn't really experiencing a tremendous problem in terms of accuracy. I think I hit 3 or 4 fairways out of 6. 2 of them were pretty close, and only one of them was really a kind of a bad drive or a stinker, which, to be honest with you, is not uncommon even with my old swing to have one kind of stinker of a drive. And I do think that some of that could improve with practice as I continue to get used to this movement pattern. So my observation has been that I've kind of taken my previous level and I've increased my highest end maximum. And so if my 100% has gone to a lot higher level, then I've taken my default standard, maybe my 80% normal swing, and that's also increased with it, which I think is pretty exciting and has been pretty rewarding, and I have seen some of those transfers go onto the course. I also want to talk about irons. I would say that I think there's still maybe a mental hurdle there in terms of applying the new swing and the new speed to irons. It feels easier to do it with the driver, but with irons I'm having a little bit less of a time kind of committing to going full bore. I think, like I said, it's kind of a mental issue, but something I just want to report, I'm not necessarily seeing that I'm 1 or 2 clubs longer with all of my irons. I think it's easier for me to translate it with the driver, and I still kind of swing in kind of a controlled and smooth way with the irons. So something to continue to work on. So next I want to kind of offer 2 opinions as to why I've seen what I would consider to be a pretty drastic increase. First, I want to talk about the context of where I'm coming from. I've always been kind of I'm going to call it pat-pat type golf, where I swing pretty conservatively, swing within myself, slow and smooth, never try to jump out of my shoes. I've really never tried to kill the ball or even swing in such a way that is maximum. I have never been a player that has operated that way. The way I was taught golf when I was younger was to swing slow and swing smooth, stay within yourself, don't try to kill the ball. And so for me, this is really, I think, the first time in my life that I'm actively trying to hit the ball as hard as I possibly can. And I think that simple, almost mental adjustment, to be honest, has unlocked speed that was already there. And I guess my reflection is that had I don't think I have physically developed new pathways or changed anything. I think I've just simply released the governor that was in my mind as far as how fast I should be swinging the golf club. So I've already kind of unlocked where I'm already at. So for you, if you're considering doing this, I think if you're somebody that is a long hitter already and maybe already is further along and using your already available speed, I don't know if you'll see the same kind of benefit. But if you're somebody like me that has always kind of played under control with the kind of the governor on, this can probably help you like it has helped me to unlock some new gears that were already probably within me, but needed to be brought forward. The second observation I want to make is I think that because I have been experiencing or have gone through some swing changes, I do have some awareness of the movements of my body and what it feels like to make a different movement or to change your swing. And so because I've got the launch monitor and I always try to beat it with every swing, right? I'm trying to actively increase my swing speed. There was a lot of feedback as far as this movement helps me be faster versus this movement helps me be slower. And I'll probably do a little bit of analysis on my golf swing, but it has changed. And I can basically, in my backswing, I have a lot more tilting and extending, and my hands go up higher. Whereas before I kind of retained kind of hunched over and my hands were a lot lower. And I think that really allowing myself to extend up in the backswing and then kind of load the ground and explode off through impact has given me the ability to be faster. Also, I would mention my tempo. Like I said previously, I think I always had a very smooth and slow and deliberate tempo. But I definitely noticed a couple things. First of all, I can see why a lot of the long guys tend to have a trigger move. If you think about a Matthew Wolff or a lot of the long drivers like Kyle Berkshire, he's got kind of his prancing move, however you want to call it, where he kind of rocks back and forth. But having some kind of trigger motion to start your swing, rather than just coming from a perfect, still, smooth takeaway, I think is actually really critical, because in order to move fast in the downswing into impact, you kind of need to get yourself ready to move fast throughout the whole swing. If you look at Bryson DeChambeau's swing, his tempo has increased, and his entire swing now is, if you compare it apples to apples with his swing prior to his body change, it was the whole swing now is done by the time his backswing used to be completed. And I think that I would report the same thing. So I do a little trigger that kind of gets me going and engaged, and then I really feel like I take it back very deliberately and very, what would be quicker and faster, and then probably have a little more of a violent transition where I'm really trying to get speed moving down. But I think that you really need that. You need to be in an athletic movement pattern in order to be generating more speed than what you were doing previously. So I guess we'll see in the long run how that relates to consistency or aesthetics of my swing. But as a whole, I would definitely say that's been critical for getting more speed. The last thing I want to comment on is injury. I did read some reports that some guys were getting some injuries by using the speed sticks. And I was kind of cautious about that because I have a lower back injury that I've had for a little while. To give you some context on that, it's a situation where, I think as I'm no longer such a young man, I'm in my 30s now. I used to be involved in a lot of athletics, played a lot of sports, and I still do. But as I kind of have started a full-time job and I've got 3 young kids, I'm simply not as physically fit as I used to be. And I think some of the softening, specifically of my core muscles, my abdominals and my thighs and my core area, I think that has exposed some maybe tendencies I've had in my lower back towards injury. So the biggest thing I've noticed is that's another reason why I think it's really important to warm up before doing this workout. You really want to work on your range of motion and your muscle stability in order to try to really exert yourself for a max effort swing. So I definitely would notice that it's really critical to make sure you're fully warmed up. Second, I did have a couple of days where I was feeling some lower back pain, and I actually decided to skip a workout in there. I think that was an important decision because this kind of high intensity motion is definitely going to make any pre-existing injuries worse. So you do want to make sure you're in a good frame of mind there. I will also report during this month I actually did test positive for coronavirus. It's going through my community at this time, and so I did actually take a week off. So some of my testing or my work has been kind of affected by that. So I maybe haven't been as ultra consistent as I would otherwise like to. But I have been able, as I'm still doing it, I'm still able to get back kind of to the speed that I was able to get to during my first 2 or 3 weeks. So all that to say, I do think you need to be cautious about that, but it hasn't created a problem for me. I think that if you're going to be developing maybe some new motion in your body, and just be understanding that it may require that you build some muscle or some flexibility to do it, and to avoid further injury. So as a whole, that's been my experience so far about a month in. I have had some pretty meaningful gains, and my driving on the course has been extended accordingly. So I'm pretty thrilled with some of these results so far. Again, I personally believe that this was maybe an ideal program for me, given my kind of pat golf history. So I think I've come to the conclusion that I had a lot left in the tank that I was never really tapping into, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. What if somebody gave me these as a 15-year-old? What would my golf look like? That's an interesting question, but we'll never know. But I do think that for me, and the way I swung the club and my kind of conservative nature, this really was a very beneficial thing for me to do. And also, though, I guess I would still just say, even if you are someone that is not like me and you are already kind of maybe maxing out, I still think this is something worth looking at, because even just that idea of getting feedback on what kind of movements generate speed, or making a concerted and conscious effort to try to rewire some of those motor pathways in the brain, in my experience, it has flat out worked. So I would really definitely recommend it. If you're curious, for how cheap you can build these things yourself, I say that it's kind of a no-brainer. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. I'll try to maybe make another update video in a little while to see kind of long-term, or maybe through the winter season as we come to the next spring, how these things are transferring to my game, and or maybe more on how it's affecting my iron play, some of those kinds of things. So if you want to see some of that, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks. Bye.